What up, Kidfolk Nation? It's your boy Screwface Capone in the house, and you're tuned in to the Stax, which is my weekly video game news show where I look over some of the bigger stories from the past week. Not a whole lot of huge stuff coming out from the last week. Well, we've had the Back 4 Blood beta, closed beta earlier this weekend. I tried to play it on Sunday night, but I couldn't seem to get it connect, or plus I had a few crashes a few times I was able to connect, so I don't know if it was just my computer or if a whole lot of people were on the server at one time. But there's going to be an open beta this weekend, so I hope to dive in and get some first impressions. Also, I finally got the video footage I need for the King of Fighters second party anthology, so I'll be putting that together throughout the week. Hope to have that up by this weekend, might even have it up sooner. I know I keep saying it, but it's on its way. And hopefully the third part, that's not going to take nearly as long. Now, going back to this week, the news we're going to look at, Kerbal Space Program released its final update. It's going to be headed towards its end of life. There are several new game delays. Focus Interactive has acquired DOTEmu. Mass Effect Legendary is a huge success, and EA had a financial call this week, a financial briefing this past week, and they've kind of elaborated on Mass Effect Legendary success and some other things. We'll be talking a little bit about that. There's going to be a PUBG name change coming up. It's not a huge one, but it kind of hints at the future of the series. And we got a triple shot of dirty developers. Fullbright Studios, the studio behind Gone Home, its co-founder is stepping down due to allocations. We'll look at that. Also, a Russian company known as Xsolla, they let off several employees, and it's kind of a bit suspect how the whole thing went down. So we'll be talking about that too. Plus, we got some more stuff coming out the Activision lawsuit. Like I said, this thing is something that's ongoing, and lots of new stuff are going to be coming out from that, because this is an ongoing thing. So we're going to look over that as well. So we're going to hop right in, but before we do, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon. That will be the first to see new content just like this. Like, that helps me out as a channel, and you get to be the first to watch these videos I'm putting out. So we're going to hop right in. Earlier this week, Developer Squad released patch 1.12.1 for its game Kerbal Space Program. Along with the patch, which adds over 90 fixes and updates for the game, the developer announced that the game will be reaching the end of its lifespan, and other than hot fixes here and there, the game will no longer receive support or new content. Usually when a developer announces that a game is no longer being supported, there's a lot of discontent from fans and supporters of the game. However, fans of Kerbal mark this as a cause for celebration, as not only have they supported the game for 10 years, but the developers are now switching gears to Kerbal Space Program 2, which is due next year. The sequel will expand the scope of the first game and will include tutorials to make the game easier for new fans. In the meantime, players can buy and enjoy the most complete version of the game right now, along with additional DLC. Since the beginning of the year, several games have been pushed back due to the ongoing pandemic. Among these games include several big names. Already we've seen delays for God of War Ragnarok, King of Fighters 15, and Warhammer Darktide, to name a few. This past week we will learn about more delays. It was confirmed that the PlayStation 5 games Horizon Forbidden West, along with Bethesda's Ghostwire Tokyo, have been hit with delays, pushing them into 2022. Not only that, the Intellivision Amico console, slated to be released this October, has been pushed back to an unspecified date at the end of the year for those who pre-ordered the system. Also, Amazon's New World saw a delay as well, although thankfully it's been pushed back to September 28th, which is only a month after its original August release date. Other than an issue with the game breaking certain graphics cards, the beta has been well received, and no doubt the developers are using the extra time to incorporate feedback from the beta. As with all these delays, they can only serve to help the games out as the developers will no doubt use the extra time to make them as good as possible. This past week, French-based publisher Focus Home Interactive had acquired developer DOTEmu. To be exact, Focus acquired a 77% share of the company to the tune of over 38 million euros, with an additional 15 million contingent upon future revenue. DOTEmu specializes in updates and remakes of classic games, most notably last year's Streets of Rage 4, which received additional downloadable content last month. In addition to Streets of Rage 4, they also develop remakes of classic games such as Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap. The acquisition by Focus shouldn't affect their current projects that are in development, including Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge, Windjammers 2, and Metal Slug Tactics, with the former two due for release later this year. Hopefully going forward, the acquisition by Focus should make it easier for the developer to create more retro-inspired remakes. In a financial briefing this past week, EA revealed that Mass Effect Legendary, the remaster of the first 3 games in the series, outsold expectations. While EA didn't reveal the exact sales figures, it would seem that players have reacted quite positively to the game since it was released this past May. General consensus is that the game reminded players of why they fell in love with the series to begin with, and the quality of life updates introduced made it even more appealing to both old and new fans. With a new Mass Effect being in development, that's a lot of positive energy going forward, even if we won't be seeing it for another year or two. Another game that was discussed was It Takes Two, the co-op game developed by Hazelight, the developer who also created 2018's A Way Out. Finally, EA would discuss the success of 2019's Jedi Fallen Order, which received a free PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X upgrade for existing owners. While they didn't confirm a sequel outright, it would seem that it's a matter of when rather than if it would be announced. One thing I would like to point out is that Mass Effect and Jedi Fallen Order are single-player offline experiences, and It Takes Two is a co-op game designed to be played as such. None of these games feature loot boxes, microtransactions, or live service elements like we've seen in other EA games. The success of these games should show EA and other developers that players are completely fine with story-driven, done-in-one content, and they are equally okay with not having to spend additional money to enjoy games they already purchased. Then again, Madden is coming out later this month, so there's that. It looks like PUBG, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, is undergoing a name change. Beginning this week, PUBG will now be known as, drumroll please, PUBG Battlegrounds. So basically it will be called PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, Battlegrounds. As redundant as it sounds, the renaming is part of a brand expansion for PUBG according to the developers. This brand expansion will include the upcoming mobile game PUBG New State, which will take the Battle Royale gameplay into a future setting. Note that unlike PUBG Mobile, which was developed by Tencent, New State is being developed by the actual PUBG team. Also part of this brand is the Callisto Protocol, an upcoming survival horror game that was shown last year at the Game Awards, and an animated project coming from Castlevania's Adi Shankar. This week, the game will be free to play and will feature a collaboration with K-pop group Blackpink. Last week, Capcom held a summer update stream for Street Fighter V's 5th and final season. Alongside highlighting Oro and Akira, both of whom are joining the roster later this month, Capcom would also reveal the final character joining Street Fighter V as well. Luke, a kickboxer, was shown off in a brief trailer. He's said to be the future of the series, which perhaps hinting at Street Fighter VI. Oro and Akira will be available next week on the 16th, while Luke will be joining in November. Oro, Akira, and Luke, along with the previous Season 5 characters, are available as part of the Championship Edition's Premium Pass. While Luke's design looks a tad generic, At least his moves are flashy, and I can't wait to try him out. Speaking of Street Fighter, Cammy and Gala are available as skins in Fortnite. These two join Ryu as Street Fighter characters who made their way into the game's meta. Steve Gaynor, the co-founder of Fullbright Studios, the developer behind 2013's classic Going Home, has stepped down after multiple allegations of misconduct, particularly toward female employees. While Gaynor is still employed by the company, he has transitioned into a role as a writer for the upcoming game Open Roads. This comes at the same time an article from Polygon detailed several allegations of mistreatment toward its female employees. Fullbright has released a statement via Twitter. "We are a small team passionate about making an inclusive, poignant, story-driven game that gives players a feeling of discovery. We care deeply about creating games that have a positive impact. We are also fervent believers in fostering a work environment that is healthy and collaborative, where we can work with transparency, autonomy, and trust." As such, Fullbright's co-founder, Steve Gaynor, has stepped back from his role as creative lead and manager and transitioned to a role as a writer, handling off day-to-day responsibilities to the team to complete Open Roads. We're all excited by how the game is shaping up, and we hope you'll follow along as we continue to share our progress. Gaynor himself would release a statement via Twitter as well. "Hi all, I have a statement to share about my role at Fullbright. Earlier this year, I stepped back from my role as creative lead on Open Roads. My leadership style was hurtful to people that worked at Fullbright, and for that I truly apologize. Stepping back has given me space and perspective to see how my role needs to change and how I need to learn and improve as part of a team, including working with an expert management consultant and rethinking my relationship to the work at Fullbright. I care deeply about Open Roads and the Fullbright team. I'm sad to have stepped back from day-to-day development of Open Roads, but it's been the right thing to do. The Open Roads team has my full faith and support as they bring the game to completion." Now, as you can see, Fullbright and Gaynor really don't go into detail on what's really going on or why they are making these statements, other than the vague non-apology that you usually see when these things go down. These allegations are particularly disheartening considering that, number one, Fullbright is known for games that star female and marginalized characters. Going Home, for instance, is a game about a lesbian teenager's coming of age, while Open Worlds is a game centering around a mother and daughter. Secondly, I'm not sure if it's a good idea to have Gaynor, a man accused of mistreating female employees, serving as part of a game's development team that involves female characters, but that's just me. I'll link to the Polygon article in the description as it goes into greater detail about the complaints. Alright, so while we're on the subject of game companies being terrible, I'm actually re-recording this from yesterday because I didn't like how it turned out the first time. But a Russian company known as Xsolla, which is a payment services company, they recently sent out a letter showing their intention to fire 150 of their employees. So here's a full translation of the email. You received this email because my big data team analyzed your activities in Jira, Confluence, Gmail, chats, documents, dashboards, and tagged you as unengaged and unproductive employees. In other words, you are not always present at the workplace when you worked remotely. Many of you might be shocked, but I truly believe that Xsolla is not for you. Nadia and her care team partner with 7 leading HR agencies, as we will help you find a good place where you can earn more and work even less. Sasha will help you get a recommendation, including one for myself, and Natalia will read your rights. So, most of this has been covered by Kotaku, this Game World Absorber, and pretty much all the huge points have been gathered in this thread by Daniel Ahmad, who covers video games in the Asian market. And so at the first, they're using big data and AI to judge like who's the least productive among them by looking at their activities in applications like Jira, Confluence, and things like that. So the first Now, after we do that, then he also sent out this letter, which it's kind of difficult to translate. So it's either work hard or fuck you. And this is coming from the CEO, this Shurik Agapitov. So anyway, what Xsolla is, it's a payment company which is used by several game developers that have in-app purchases, as well as the Epic Game Store and Valve. So they've also So last week they also had a Google Meet video call, which basically was there to answer questions. So according to the CEO, layoffs are due to the fact that the company has stopped showing 40% growth. In order to make for a slowdown, the decision was cut to make companies' wages funded by 10%. The leadership decided to achieve this by laying off employees with the lowest performance metrics. The fact that most layoffs affected the perm offices is due to salaries in Russia being much lower than the US. So that's one thing. The total number of laid off employees could be up to 40% of the company's headcount across all offices. So it's unclear whether the 40% only refers to the staffers being let go, or if it also refers to anybody who works in the United States. And this affected line employees and not top managers. Why am I not surprised? And he's not even questioning their efficiency. Again, why am I not surprised with that? And when analyzing employee performance, times present in GIT and IDE was not taken into account. For those who are not into software development, GIT is a versioning software. So what you do is, like, when you're working on code base, then oftentimes you would split off the branches. You have a development branch plus your QA and production branches, and if you're like working on an issue, you would branch out from one of those branches to create the stuff that you're working on. So and also IDE means integrated development environment, or at least I'm pretty sure that is what that means. And integrated development environment is pretty much yeah, that's exactly what it is. Integrated development environment. So that's the one you're most familiar with is probably Visual Studio. There's also Eclipse, NetBeans, and even stuff like Dreamweaver. So according to this, he's not taking into account time spent in GIT and IDE, which is where the actual development work occurs. So that's another peculiar issue. So basically here's the message again, and it roughly translates to work your fucking ass off or get your fucking ass out. So at the very least, there's a question of if he was actually using AI to spy on their employees. Again, like, this is in Russia, so I don't know the legality of the laws there. But if you're using that to spy on your employees and you're using it just based on time in certain apps, then that's not always going to be accurate. Because there's no way in hell, like, even if you're working at home, there's no way in hell you're just going to sit there straight for 8 hours a day. You're going to take some time up, stretch out, take a little breather here and there. You might not even be in work, and throughout the day, you might not even be doing work-related activities that can't be measured. Stuff like online meetings, calls on Teams, or maybe even traveling to an office for whatever reason, or even attending company training. So there's that as well. Let's see. And also, at the very least, this is a very unprofessional way to speak to your employees. Work your fucking ass off or get the fuck out, or just so. And this was released after the call. Let me go back to that screen. And this was released after the call. So also so after that, he suddenly informs Russia that 60 employees listed who were going to be expelled might stay with the company following discussion with their managers, and at least they'll get some pretty decent severance packages. Okay, so Xsolla founder on mass layoffs and AI space employee appraisal system. Stories of fear sell better than stories of hope. It's like, that's his mentality here. So let's see what Kotaku has to say about it. Pretty much everything that we're going through here. So, in short, they're going to lay off these employees, and they were going, and they might not be laying off all of them. In an email to Kotaku, Xsolla President Chris Hewish defended Agatov's harsh tweet as a reference to a catchphrase ought to be attributed to a famous Russian entrepreneur named Evgeny Kichvarakin. As for the layoffs, Hewish said the people affected were either redundant or not crucial. Yeah, but at the same time, though, I mean, it might be a case where they actually were just not productive, but at the same time, this whole thing kind of comes off as a bit dickish and scummy. Especially when all you're going, if what he's saying is correct, then all you're really going on is these AI generated metrics, and computer algorithms don't always aren't always the best way to go when it comes to these kind of things. So let me know what you think in the comments, and I guess we'll just move on to the latest Activision stuff. Alright, so finally we're going to go back into some more details about the Activision lawsuit, the Activision Blizzard lawsuit. For those that don't know, basically the state of California has filed a lawsuit against Activision and Blizzard due to multiple allegations of frat boy culture and sexual harassment within the workplace, including one such incident when a woman took her own life while on a business trip with a male colleague. So there's been a bunch of, so like I said, like, this is something that's just not going to go away anytime soon, and some new stuff has indeed come out about it. So first of all, one thing that I forgot to mention from last week is there's something that came up about a security researcher who wanted to get a job at Blizzard for their penetration testing position, and apparently she had approached them, and she was wearing a shirt called Penetration Expert. So basically, when she approached recruiters and they asked, like, when was the last time she was personally penetrated, and if she liked being penetrated, or how often she got penetrated, and this was when So yeah, like if you're into cybersecurity, then you know what penetration testing is. Like, you're trying to test like how easy it is, like, for someone to break into like a framework or some shit. But like you can clearly see what the recruiters meant when they were speaking to her about it, like when they were asking her about it. So that was clear sexual innuendo, and that's not something you want to do when somebody wants to work for you. So later on, now there's a happy ending to this. So basically, following the incident at Black Hat, which is like which is basically the cybersecurity convention where this happened at. So basically, the young lady Mitchell, Emily Mitchell, had become became a chief operating officer at Sagita HPC, and basically what happened is that Blizzard had reached out to them wanting to employ them as for security contracts. So basically, Mitchell went and told the CEO not to go with them because she let them know about the sexual harassment that happened. So basically, Ghazi sent them back an email talking to them about talking to them what had happened to Mitchell earlier. So, and even that, he even elaborated that other women have received that same treatment. So he actually posted it on Twitter. So it's kind of beautiful. He kind of blew up there. So basically, when she wanted to get a job there, like they sexually harassed her, but then she rose up and became a chief officer at another organization. And when when Blizzard tried to recruit this company, not remember who she was, the CEO basically spilled the tea and exposed them. So that's pretty awesome. I'm gonna post this in the description. I know I say it a lot, but if I miss it, then please remind me, and I will, if it's not there. Alright, so on to last week. First and foremost, J. Allen Brack stepped down, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. So obviously this was on his. So obviously he's stepping down to pursue new opportunities. So like he wasn't outright fired, which is what would happen in any company with any kind of common sense. But that's not the case here. So he just gave himself an out. So this is a good thing. I mean, it's a step in the right direction. But there are so many other people who do need to be fired, like Alex Afarazbi, for instance. So I think this is a step in the right direction, but not enough of a step. Speaking of people stepping down, this is Fran Townsend. The former Bush administration torture expert, who was hired at Blizzard a few months ago. So she's stepping down as sponsor of the ABK Women's Network. And what that is I don't know what the. So keep in mind that she's still employed at the company, but she's just no longer a member of this network. What is it anyway? ABK Women's Network. That's something within Activision or something? I'm trying to find out what that is. Okay, Activision Blizzard King Employee Women's Network. So, if you remember, a few weeks ago, she had sent out an email talking about allegations that the allegations were painting a distorted and untrue picture of Activision Blizzard. So basically, Activision CEO Bobby Kotick declared this as being a tone-deaf response. So again, a step in the right direction, but I would rather see her being fired because for one thing, instead of standing behind her fellow women, and she's supposed as a person in this position that's supposed to benefit female employees, she basically threw him on a bus by saying that the claims were bullshit, and that's definitely not the case. So this isn't just one or two people. I just want to emphasize, this ain't just one or two people who need to be fired, who need to be stepped down or getting rid of. This is a whole company-wide culture that needs to change. So going on. Now, anyway, there's going to be another lawsuit. There's another lawsuit against Activision Blizzard, and this one's coming from its investors. So basically, that between August 4th, 2016 and July 27, 2021, purchasers of the securities of Activision Blizzard were misled, as the company didn't disclose the issues with its workplace culture. They emerged in a recent lawsuit filed by California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. So basically, it described Blizzard as a breeding ground for harassment and discrimination against women. So while the California lawsuit is alleging that this stuff was going on, this investor lawsuit is going on as a accusation that they were misled about these things not going on. Alright, and finally, because I don't want to keep this as long as it was last week, and I'm already at the 8-minute mark, so I think I'm doing in good time. So finally, several sponsors are pulling back from sponsoring the Overwatch League, and this is all in response to the whole Activision Blizzard lawsuit. So these include Coca-Cola, Kellogg's, and State Farm. So these are some pretty big names. And they're pulling out, it looks like T-Mobile is also pulling out the, as a sponsor sponsor as well. So, yeah, with these big name sponsors pulling out, this is starting to hit Activision and Blizzard financially where it hurts. So, again, these are steps in the right direction. And I think this is the one thing that needs to happen if they're not going to take any accountability. Like, start hurting them financially. So, yeah, that's more. No doubt there are going to be some more stuff that's going to be popping up throughout the week. So, stay tuned. And we're going to go on to the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week is none other than The Suicide Squad, which is in theaters and on HBO Max. Now, I'm a Marvel guy, but I can't even front when their distinguished competition puts out something this dope. The part sequel, part reboot to 2016 Suicide Squad is packed with blood, guts, and humor. Margot Robbie returns as Harley Quinn, while Idris Elba and John Cena steal the show as Bloodsport and Peacemaker. I also love Sly Stallone as King Shark, and I also liked Ratcatcher. The film was directed by James Gunn, who is the man behind Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and that was one of my favorite MCU films. This film shows what happens when you let him do whatever he wants and give him an R rating. Now that he's working with Marvel again, I can't wait to see how he's going to do Guardians 3. As a matter of fact, he said he wanted to do a Marvel vs. DC film, so let him do it. I can't wait to see what he would come up with. Enough about that. The Suicide Squad is definitely one of the better DC films, and you don't need to have watched any other DCEU films to enjoy it. Alright, that's it for this week's edition of the Stax. I do hope you enjoyed what you saw. And if you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it. If you haven't done so, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon. Also, if you got an opinion, if you got any thoughts on what you saw, any of the stories or just anything else, feel free to hit me up in the comments. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Twitch. I also have an Xvideos account if you like adult games. I recently put out a new review for a game called Cyber City. So if you're into games that aren't safe for work, then hop over to my Xvideos and just search Screwface Capone. I'm in a process of making that into a channel as well. So because it's Xvideos, needless to say, it's 18 plus only. So if you're younger than 18, you can't watch it. Or 21 in some states or whatever. But like I said, like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, I hope you have a great week. I'm Audi 51,000G, kinfolk.